It's rare, it's unique, it's one of a kind. It's the ideal vehicle for a family or a couple. It's Bleckmann. Hi, I'm Paul with Helderburg, and today we're talking about Bleckmann. But Bleckmann is a build that has so many unique little characteristics that you might not have noticed, and I'm going to point those out today. The first thing, let's talk about the color. Steve McQueen, yeah, I love him. He's my hero. Loved how he loves cars and motorcycles, which are my passion too. And he's known for the color slate gray. On his 1970 Porsche 911, slate gray was the color, and he used that color a lot of times, or that's the color he chose on his vehicles. This is a slate gray. It's not exact to a Porsche slate gray, since we did a little bit of magic in the paint. Has just a very, very slight pearlescence to it, and the primer was a little different shade too, to just give it a little different hue, modernize the color a little bit. So this color in the sunlight is definitely gray, but as it gets darker, it definitely looks black. So just the color alone makes it look timeless. It also kind of gives it that military feel, that rugged feel, but it's also quite elegant. It's a gentleman color in my opinion. And then I combined it with an almond color soft top. I had to hesitate because I also did an almond color in the interior, which we'll get to in a minute. So let's talk about the drivetrain. Can you drive it anywhere? Will it give you many years of longevity? And the answer is yes. It is a turbo diesel. We put a turbo on it, meaning a VNT turbo. It's got a larger intercooler. It's got a custom cylinder head. It has a different injection pump. It's built for a lot of adventure. It's built for long-term adventure. This vehicle is built to hand down to your children or pass on through your family. It will last a lifetime. This engine, no reason that it would not be able to do 500,000 miles. The engine is completely rebuilt. Every nut, every bolt, every washer, everything is rebuilt. The crank is new, the pistons are new, the cylinder head's new, the injectors are new. Everything is new, as the whole vehicle. So if you were to go through this vehicle and look at everything, every last part is new. And the reason I'm telling you that, because the term nut and bolt restoration is very, let's just say it's abused and it's loosely used. But if it's a Helderburg and I tell you it's a nut and bolt restoration, you can rest assured you can crawl over every square inch of this vehicle and you will not find a reused part. The one thing that makes it a Helderburg too, though, is the performance parts. There's very few parts that came off of the shelf to build this Helderburg. There's a lot of parts that were custom done, starting with the grille. The grille is made in Germany and it's metal. I'm not big on plastic, so metal grille, this is really a staple to a Helderburg because I just love the timeless appeal. So you have to kind of say, is it classic or is it new? It kind of, I guess you could say, walks a path between those two. In fact, I was just driving it and I was at the local gas station or convenience store, and I had 3 people come up, and 2 of them came up and they're like, "Oh, is that a G-Wagon?" And I walked around in the front and I'm like, "No, it's a Land Rover." And they're like, "Oh, is that the new 2025 Land Rover?" I'm like, "No, it's 25 years old." They were amazed. And that's the type of build quality that I really appreciate. But I think that's why I love Defenders, and so do other people. And I'm not saying because it looks like a G-Wagon, it's because it looks timeless and it works. Here it is, 2024, almost 2025, and people think it's a new vehicle, even though it was built a very long time ago originally. So I've talked about the turbo diesel. It does have a 5-speed manual transmission. It has LED lighting. It has the billet aluminum headlight surrounds here, LED lighting here, and then of course the broken beam that you would see on a Helderburg and expect to see on a Helderburg. But now let's go to some unique things that you probably wouldn't have noticed. First thing, the stance. We're known for the stance. I've got people all over the world that say, how do you get that stance? What are you doing to get that stance? And it really comes down to a true suspension. This is not considered a teenage boy lift. And what I mean by teenage boy lift, it's where you have dad's credit card, but you don't want to spend a lot of money and you cut corners. There was no cutting corners when we did this lift. It has custom prop shafts, it has custom radius arms, it has custom wheels, and the wheels have the proper offset to be able to get them out farther to give that stance. And I'll tell you, just the look of it. This is the way a Land Rover should have looked 25 years ago, in my opinion. Granted, some people think, no, skinny tires, keep it all original, but this is what I appreciate. This is the ideal gentleman's cruiser or gentlewoman's cruiser, in my opinion. The arches are not standard. These are a little wider than normal. The standard arches really just kind of cut right over and are a little too oval. They don't make a statement. They don't have that presence and that stance. So wider arches, nice little rubber trim. The little black rubber makes a nice little accent. Billet aluminum vents up here. But here's what I want to really point. The windscreen. The windscreen itself, if you look closely, you'll see it has hinges. The reason that it has a hinge is the top can come off completely. You could do a bimini top, which is a top that's over the passenger and the driver only if you wanted to. But let's just say we take the top off completely. We can fold the windscreen down. So now you can have a complete open top, which moves me back to here in the doors themselves. If you notice the door, the rubber trim that's right here, and then the door handle, the recessed door handle, what you are looking at here is a half door. This is a door where this top piece right here, all of this section right here from this black trim up, comes off completely. There's 2 nuts. You loosen the 2 nuts on the inside, this comes off, store this in the garage, and now you have a complete open top. It's a great experience. Let me tell you, when you're driving, top off, windows off, windscreen down, it's a lot of fun. It's like riding a motorcycle, basically. Or leave the windscreen up and just take the top off, take the side off, and again, very open top experience. You're feeling the air, you're smelling the pine trees. It's just a beautiful experience. Billet aluminum continues, so billet aluminum arms, billet aluminum hinges, and then of course the side step. Didn't do the bars on this one, the complete step-up bar, just did a step. Really easy, fold it up, fold it down. It kind of borderlines that vintage, that classic look, but it also keeps the underside, the lines very clean. The door handles, I just love these just because they're so classic, they're so old school. But let me talk about the window just a little more, because I don't know if you've really noticed what's going on here. So let me show you what this window is all about. There's a release here, and that locks your window. And then your window slides forwards, and then it slides back. And then you can slide this part back or forth. So that's what's happening. And when I get in, when you get to see the inside of the door, you'll say, oh, wow, that's unique. I've never seen that before. Moving back a little further, and again, the paint. I just have to talk about the paint a little more because the video, the pictures simply do not do it justice. I've heard that hundreds of times when people come to visit us in Sharon Springs, New York, or they see a Helderburg in the wild and they'll send me messages. This is a 3-stage paint job. This is a concourse level paint job. This is the best paint job that you will ever see. And I had a gentleman the other day, he asked me, he goes, well, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at another builder and your trucks are more expensive. So my question is, he said, I see a difference, but my question is, why? And I said, well, why don't you just watch the video, watch it on a big screen TV and look at everything. Look at the paint, look at the lines, and then look at the pictures on a big screen computer and really zoom in and see what's going on here. And I think that will determine what is the difference between us and the other builder you're looking at. And that's what he did. The next day, he called me. He said, done. Let's do the contract. Let's build. So that's where I say you really do have to see our paint jobs in person and see the attention to detail. Moving back, I mentioned the almond top, but we want to step farther. It's not just an almond top. It's edged in black, and then of course it's contrasting stitching, so it has the almond stitching too. Again, it's these little subtle touches, the little attention to detail that makes all of the difference. All of these fine details is what makes the overall vehicle and makes it a Helderburg. Even the snaps. This is really cool. Big question I have is, how long does it take to remove the top? And I think people are thinking about back in the day when they had their Jeep or a friend had a Jeep and how much of a pain it was. Well, we did snaps. This is how easy it is to go around. And then you have 6 straps inside, undo those, top comes off. First time you do it, about 10 minutes. And then to put it back on, first time you do it, probably about 15 minutes. But what's really cool is when you remove this top, you're exposing the bars, these heavy duty bars that are here. And these bars also look really good when you wrap them with a foam with the leather too. So it gives it a very unique feel. Again, look at the stance, look at the body. And I don't know if you really noticed what was going on. You might have mistaken this for a 90. A 90 being 90 inches from center of axle to center of axle. No, this gives you everything a 90 gives you, but a bit more. This is a 110. It's a 2-door 110. That's why it's rare. You simply don't see 2-door 110s in the US. But talk about usability. Oh yeah, definitely usable. This is the ideal vehicle if you're an individual and you enjoy outdoor sports, if you enjoy skiing, snowboarding, because you have all of this room back here. This cargo area is huge. So if you enjoy hiking, camping, and you have dogs, very usable. If you're a couple and you enjoy outdoor sports, well, again, and you have dogs, very usable. If you're a couple and have a large family, then yes, this is very usable because you have all the cargo space. So you got 2 in the front and you can fit 8 in the back. The beauty of a 2-door 110 versus a 4-door, or technically 5-door 110, is the 4-door 110 where you have the second row. You can have 2 or 3 people in the second row, and then you have people in the cargo area. So it creates that separation. So it's hard to have a conversation with the people in the cargo area, or if you have kids and you have the 3 seats, it's hard to see what's going on in the cargo area if you need to keep an eye on the kids or the dogs. So it just allows everybody to communicate. It allows you to have a very, let's just say, a very fun drive, full of memories. It's just a lot of fun. And then your air conditioning, your heating, just having this open cab allows you to cool the cabin, which brings me to the top. This is not an old Jeep top that's canvas. Well, actually, was it even canvas on the Jeep? It was more like a plastic because it would start to break and get brittle. This is a cloth, but is the cloth that's UV protected. And it also has a middle layer, and the middle layer is an insulating layer, and then it has an inside the layer that continues the feel. So it looks very finished, it looks very elegant, and it's got this crosshatch pattern on here. So it makes it for a very luxurious interior, but it does provide the insulation. So you can drive this around all 4 seasons. Even here in upstate New York, I've driven a soft top quite a bit, and it's sufficient, meaning that it will heat the cabin, the seats are heated, it's comfortable. And then the next thing is, how noisy is a soft top? I've been asked that a lot. Well, during the warm months, you can take the top off completely and you can have a general conversation in a very soft tone. You don't have to talk loud or anything else. It's very, very quiet. During the semi-warm months and you roll the windows up, it's still really quiet. You have the air moving through the cabin, which is what you want, but it's still very quiet. When you put the windows down and you seal everything up for the winter, you could get a little bit of flapping on the side bar here, but that's where putting the pads on the bar and then the pads on the top bar will get rid of that flapping sound. So point is, yes, it's quiet. You can have a conversation. It's not as quiet as a hardtop, of course, and it's not going to be as insulated as a hardtop, but it's still quiet enough to enjoy. But this is definitely a vehicle to go on, do vacations, drive across country, do whatever you want to do, and have plenty of room because it is a two-door 110. I just absolutely love this body style. I love this body style. I love the 130 body style. Actually, I love them all. So the question is, can you just have one Helderburg? And I think the answer is probably no. But let's take a look at the back, and then let's go into the interior. A soft top classic Land Rover Defender gives you a lot of options. And what I mean by that, for example, we've got the soft top on right now, but we could roll all the windows down, meaning the side windows, the back window, and we could have this as your late fall, winter vehicle. So that's your vehicle number one. When it starts to warm up a little bit, let's just say it's earlier fall, or if it's beginning spring and you want that fresh air, but it's really not warm enough yet, then you roll up the side windows, you roll up the rear window. So that's your option number two when it comes to your classic Defender. And then when it gets warm, summer-wise, and not overly hot, I'm not talking Texas hot, but hot, you can take the top off completely. That's your option number three. Complete open top, fold the windscreen down, take the tops of the doors off. You have this motorcycle type experience for the entire family. And then if it gets super hot, again, I'm talking Florida hot, Texas hot, top can go back on. You can roll the windows up when you're sitting in traffic. Air conditioner works really well, and that's your option number four. So a soft top Defender gives you a lot of versatility, because if you were to do a hardtop Defender, it's hardtop and that's it. There is no removing the hardtop. There is no aftermarket tops where you can take the top off and put it back on, for the simple fact that, I mean, you can take it off, but it's a lot of work. It's heavy. It has Alcantara, Italian Alcantara. It's got all of the LED lighting and all that. So it's not as easy. So really it comes down to, do you want a soft top that's a very versatile 4-season vehicle, or do you want a hard top? And if you've never had a convertible, I will tell you, it is a wonderful experience. If you've ever driven or rode a motorcycle, I would say, if you've ever rode a motorcycle, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is you're driving on the country roads through the mountains, and you just feel the air change. You feel warm air, and then you feel cool air, and then you can smell the evergreens or smell the trees. You can smell everything. So it's a much more visceral experience when you do a soft top versus a hard top. But again, it's just whatever speaks to you. So that's my thing. Oh, I love hard tops. So I will tell you, Lucy loves a two-door 110 because she has a lot of room. And then when we take Leo with us, she can control all that room, meaning that she's the boss. This is all my space. Leo, I know you're big, but lay in the corner and be quiet. That's just her personality. But what I really want to point out is the seating arrangement here. And I talked about this prior, that it allows you to really communicate with all your passengers. It allows you to create that eye contact through the rear view mirror, and it just allows everybody to be part of the conversation, and it allows the air conditioning and the heating to work really well, since it opens up the area really well. This is seating for 8, and it has all of the seat belts. And if you were to have a 4-door 110, speaking from experience here, that I will have a couple or some friends that will visit, and they're like, oh, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner, and we're going to ride in the back, we're going to ride in the cargo area. And I'm like, I've got a second row set of seats here. And they're like, no, we want to ride in the cargo area. So I'm just telling you, grown adults want to feel young again. And by that, it's the nostalgia of riding in the cargo area, and it becomes really difficult because you're trying to talk to them in the rear view mirror, and I just love this body style. Let's put it that way. Plenty of room for whatever you want to do. Dogs, sports, people, and I think this is the ideal party Defender. The carpeting is not your standard carpet. This is a German wool. And when I say German, it's made in Germany. It is wool. It's a true wool, and it's a square weave. So it has a very nice pattern to it. It's very unique, very luxurious. This is the type of carpet that was in Porsche originally. And hence I told you about the color, the slate gray, Steve McQueen, his Porsches. So just carrying it through, making sure that we're pulling all of those Porsche qualities into the build. There's one thing you will notice here though, is the strips that I put in here. They are also painted in that slate gray color. So again, carrying everything on. But the reason for these strips is if you're into gardening, if you're into pretty much anything where you really want to use your Defender as it's intended, and by all means, you do want to use it, you want to drive it, you want to not hold back and go, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it. It can all be fixed if you do hurt it. But these strips serve a purpose. And that's when you're loading stuff here, it allows the stuff to slide forward easily and it does not get hung up on the carpet and doesn't start to make your carpet look shaggy after a while. So again, we thought about it. This is a purpose-built vehicle. It's a Defender, it's a Helderburg. Of course, it's purpose-built. But again, it serves a purpose. And then in the rear, this is your step-up bumper. So this allows your passengers to get in easily. I do get the question, well, where do passengers load from? They load from here. They get into the back because you don't want them climbing over the seats. Because if you have your own Lucy, like she's in the front seat, she's waiting to go for a ride, she climbs over everything. Seems pretty graceful for her, but to see a grown adult climbing over the center console, not so graceful. Let's talk about storage capabilities. A classic Land Rover Defender, well, any vehicle for that matter, usually doesn't have nice storage capability. You have a center console and maybe some pockets in the doors on a new modern SUV, but that's about it. We wanted to do a storage opportunity, but we wanted to make it classic. We wanted to make it proper. We wanted to make it for a gentleman or a gentlewoman. So what we did is we did leather pockets. And I will talk about leather here. The leather is 100% leather. This is all leather. This is not your standard leather. This is a heavier gauge leather, so your dogs and your kids can climb all over it. But again, storage pockets, yeah, makes it easy. You can put your water bowls in here for your dogs, like your fold up wax cotton water bowl, the leash, whatever you want to put back here. But we continued these pockets on the inside too. On the driver and passenger seat on the rear, there's more pockets, and on each door, there's more pockets. And I have to say, I really love the strap and the buckle. It just looks very elegant. And again, it's all about storage. And yes, you have a center console for storage, but you can never have enough storage. So now we're on the interior of Bleckmann, and I will tell you, the luxury has continued. Before I get into it though, you're probably saying, ooh, you've got a big dog on the interior. Is that going to hurt it? And I talk about this a lot. No. And I will say, let's take a look at Lucy's nails, because sometimes I share pictures because she's got really beautiful nails. It's almost like she has a French manicure. I know, too much information. I'm not saying that I've done her nails, but okay, I have. But anyway, so the leather in a Helderburg is custom tan to order. And it took us a really long time to come up with the proper leather. And this leather is unlike any other build that you will ever see by anyone, any other build in the world. It is a Helderburg exclusive leather. And what that means is it's the thickness. So I love dogs. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. And I love my dogs to be with me. I don't put them in a crate and make them sit in the back. And I know it's dangerous to have them up here, but I'm aware of when I'm driving, and I do have a chest harness for her to hold seatbelts. So I'm just pointing that out for if anybody wants to comment. But the leather, what I'm wanting to point out is normal upholstery leather is around 2 ounces. A Helderburg leather, you can just feel it. This is almost a boot leather, very, very thick. It also has a very high wax content. So doing this leather takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of additional time, a lot of additional costs just for the leather itself. To be able to get a hide this perfect without any type of, barbed wire marks. That's why our leather comes from Scotland, because they don't use barbed wire in Europe. So that's the first reason. But just being able to work with it, because it's not a very pliable leather. So when you are stitching it, it takes a lot of additional work, and it takes a different machine, a sewing machine, to be able to do this. So a lot more production goes into this. And looking at the leather too, that I love this interior. It has the perforation in it. The perforation doesn't serve any purpose. Like, there is not air conditioning in the seats. They are heated. It's really a design cue is what it is. And I did point out earlier in the video that there is pockets on the back of the seats for storage. And I just can't harp on this leather enough, but it's beautiful. And you'll notice the piping on the sides. It has the gray piping that matches the exterior of the interior. Let me say that. It has the gray piping that matches the exterior. There you go. So very nice touch, but we did everything in leather. So if you look around a little more, where else are you seeing leather? Well, you're seeing it on the air conditioning system, you're seeing it on the lower dash, you're seeing it on the upper dash, you're seeing it on the sun visors, you're seeing it around the instrument binnacle, you're seeing it on the steering column, the shifter boot, the brake handle, and even the edges of the carpet. So we bound the carpet in the leather too, which was really hard to work with because it's a thick leather, so we had to plane it down to get it to fit where it looks good. And it complements this German wool carpeting very nicely. But again, interior is beautiful. The high fidelity audio system is also a very nice touch. Right here under the seat where Lucy's at is the amplifier. And then there's a subwoofer back here hidden where you don't see it behind the seats. And speakers are here, there's speakers in the rear, and these are not just any speakers, these are Focals, which are handmade in France. So the audio system sounds great. It sounds wonderful. It makes it the ideal party vehicle in my opinion, but I also love some jazz and some classical, and you can hear the true sound. The clarity of these speakers, the cleanness of the amp, it just makes for everything to be beautiful. It does have USB, so it has the USB-C and the standard USB, so you can charge devices. It's a beautiful build in my opinion. Again, it is a two-door 110 that offers a lot of versatility, and we even did leather here on the A-pillar, and the windscreen itself is heated. So that's Bleckmann. If you have any questions, go ahead and just email us, text us, fill in a form on the website, and Bleckmann is available for sale right now. So if you've been watching us for a while and you've been on Helderburg.com, you've seen the illustration of what it looked like, and I think we hit it. It came pretty close to the illustration. In fact, we had a lot of people thinking the illustration was the actual vehicle, and that was just a concept that I dreamed about one night and said, yeah, I want to do a two-door 110. It's going to be the perfect vehicle. But here's the big question. I don't know if I'm really ready to sell it because I would really love to take a trip, do a lot of photography, and do a book. That's been a dream of mine for a while. Anyway, Bleckmann, two-door 110.